young South African women are facing a big challenge without any financial or emotional support from otata babo. So we're here in Braamfontein and Galomba. What do you think about child maintenance?
Well, according to my view, child maintenance is essential, coming from both the parents, the father especially, as the provider.
I think child maintenance should be two-sided. A mother and a father should both, pay for the child's fees, clothes, and most importantly, feeding them. So I don't think it's only like the mother's job to do it, because I feel like fathers don't really pay a large responsibility to the child's being.
Honestly, I feel like it's something that is not even supposed to be discussed. I feel like parents should know what they should do for their children because they knew what they were doing, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also we're facing a huge challenge of teenage pregnancy.
I feel like as parents, you should talk about it more often and tell them, like, if you have an absent father, okay, this is how it's going on, and the rules and everything.
Physical support. So yeah, you need to
And on that note, we want to say hello, South Africa. Happy Women's Month to you all. A very warm welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
And I'm your host, Umngolisiwa Masango, Sizagene Bkoma from our headquarters in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Now, as we observe Women's Month, we spotlight women who are raising ingane on their own. Now, we tackle a pressing issue of child maintenance, also better known as ipapgeld. Now, our poll question this evening, are young fathers failing to support their children? Jackie.
And I hope we get to the bottom of that, because according to research, more than 90,000 teenage mothers gave birth in the year of 2018. Now, Statistics South Africa showed that more than 3,000 girl children aged between 10 and 14 were registered as mothers in South Africa last year. Sadly, more than 57% of children are raised without fathers.
Well, Jackie, as Expressions, we find out how these young mothers are raising their children on their own. Now, we visited an organization called the Rays of Hope in Alexandra, and this is what we found. Take a look at this. Our stop takes us to Alex, where we visit the Rays of Hope NPO. Now, this is an organization that helps and gives support to Abu Mama Balai Khalene Alex, who are single mothers. We meet some of those mothers and speak to them about their experiences of carrying their children alone. Follow me. Ingane unakekela kanjani uwedwa?
Ndinakekela ngoba ndinale mali yegrant yakhe le 420 yakhe. Because xa ndimfowunelayo ndimxelela umntwana kana-uniform akathathi inxaxheba.
Mna akekho ngoba nguye ongafuniyo ukubakho empilweni yomntana. Yena ndinazo ii-contacts zakhe, siyakhontakthana. Ma ndimkhuluma ngesupport uyangitshela athi hayi angisebenzi nani yabo. Khuluma into eziningi.
Ubaba ingane iyasebenza yena?
Uyasebenza.
So uthi kungani angabhadali i-maintenance yena?
Mase ndimbuza uba waye engamenzeli kwanti umntwana akanampendulo.
So akisikhulume ngokuthi mhlambe into enifuna ukuyibona ukuthi iyenzeka mhlambe in terms of abobaba bengane badlala indima empilweni zengane. What would you like to see happen?
Abe ne-relationship nomntwana wakhe. That means a lot. Noba umuntu akanayo imali.
I like to see the father of the child supporting the child, knowing that he eats, he goes to school, like doing everything as a father. Yes.
Ubunzima esihlangabezana nabo kule mali yegrant. Ufumana ukuthi umntwana una 18 years. So akasa benefit lo mntwana 18 years egrantini. Utata womntwana una 34 years. Aka benefit lo tata egrantini futhi lo tata naye ubenefita kule grant yam ka government, because akasebenzi une certificate uhleli nazo umsebenzi awukho.
Nto ihlula kakhulu ukuthi abantwana bethu before benze abantwana bacingi ngase nditsho ngoba benza abantwana phakathi nendawo bayahluleka kusapota abantwana babo. Ngoku abantwana xa basapotile wena ungugogo angeke uyeke abazukulu bakho balanda. So so ufuneke usacrifice yakho impilo for abantwana. Mna ndisitsho nje ndiyafundisa abantwana ababini ngabazukulu bam. Utata wabo naye akasebenzi, akayicingi laa nto uba noba ndine-1 rand makhe ndiyishere nabantwana bam. Ndim ndivuka kuseprimary kuphi ndivuka nabantwana. So eyona ngxaki mna indibethayo kubantwana bethu ingaske babe notshintsho abalenzayo apha ekwenzeni abantwana bebancinci, ngoba eyona nto ibangela ukuthi sekunjena nje apha eSouth Africa ngabantwana abenza abantwana bebancinci ngenxa engamamela abazali babo.
A true sad tale of events indeed on that issue around child maintenance. But to take this discussion further and unpack this issue a little bit more, I'm joined by my guest. And my first guest is Donald Makani, who is from the Department of Justice and let me put it this way, Justice and Constitutional Department. That's the correct way. Yes. And he is the area court manager. And then I'm also joined by Diboa Ramohashi, who is from Rays of Hope. And she is a social worker. A bit of a tongue twister there, Mr. Constitutionally and so forth. Welcome to Expressions.
Welcome, I feel welcome.
And of course, I never do this by myself. My co-host Mxolisi is going to be manning our social media corner and of course bringing some of your most important insights on this issue that we are discussing in studios. I think maybe let me start with you, Diboa. I mean, you are a social worker, and then obviously Mxolisi was profiling just some of the great work that you're doing with young mothers. But help us to understand, what is the emotional state of a young mother? Especially, we said there, statistically, you find 3,000 of pregnant mothers are between 10 and 14 years old. What is the emotional state of a 14-year-old mother?
The 14-year-old mother, they are sad. They are so bitter because now they are left with kids without support. And it depends on the circumstances, what happened during the relationship, what caused the father to be away. Was their child came as a result of gang rape? Was it rape? Was it forcefully made? So it depends on the circumstances, but these 14-year-old mothers are so bitter, and they turn out to be very, very abusive, because at the age of 14, they don't even have parenting skills. They are scared as well because of becoming a mother, because we don't know what happened when she became pregnant. Was it planned or was it not planned? And was it peer pressure, or was it older men, or was it a purpose of experiencing, wanting to experience what is happening in this world? So it depends on the circumstances, Jackie, but they are really vulnerable, they are bitter, they are so sad, they are so depressed.
Donald, I want to bring you into this conversation. Yes. I want to find out what happens to the father that doesn't pay maintenance, a father who would abandon a partner at the age of 10 and 14 years old. And do you make arrests?
No, we don't make arrests. For the father to be arrested, firstly, the applicant, which will be the mother of the child. In the case where the social workers just explained, where the child is 14 years and younger, the child would obviously be assisted by an adult because she cannot put an application on her own behalf. So there will be parents, either be the parents of the child that will assist. Once the maintenance order is made, if the respondent being the father is found, if the respondent default, the warrant of arrest is then authorized for the father to be arrested so that he pays for the maintenance of the child.
But in the case where, like we're saying statistically, that, you know, the mother's age will be between 10 and 14 years old, and if the father of the child is 10 years as well, or 14 years as well, and they can't pay maintenance, what would you, at least what's your response as a court?
Well, it's not limited to the child. In terms of paying the maintenance, the parents of the minor child who has impregnated the other minor will also be responsible. Will be called both parties, which is the parents of the applicant or the parents of the respondent. So both minors will be called to court with their parents that will assist them in terms of providing for the minor child that has been brought to this world.
And I think for you, Diboa, as an MPO Rays of Hope, the girls that you deal with, the young mothers that you deal with, who exactly impregnates them? And I know you touched a little bit on the fact that, you know, there are various male personalities or characters that would be involved, but from the girls you deal with specifically, who are you seeing to be the culprits? Who are the fathers of the young mothers?
In most cases, Jackie, they are older men, because our girls are running after material things, most of them. So a few cases are most of their age, but 90% are older men and who are married. Yes.
And maybe just before we go to break, Donald, I just want to understand in terms of the friendliness of the courts. If a young mother is 14, I think you touched on it a little bit, but if the young mother is 14 years old, I mean, does the court have in place systems to support this phenomena that we're seeing of extremely young mothers, children who are raising children inevitably?
Yes, we do have. I think we've implemented the Sexual Offences Court where the facilities is made available to be able to cater for the minors, which is the minors that appears in court. Either it be them appearing for the maintenance court where they wouldn't want to testify directly where the respondent is there, or either where they would want to testify in camera. So the environment is child-friendly in the maintenance court.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess the big question that we have in studio is how do we turn the tide against fathers who are failing to provide support for their children? We continue with this also important conversation after the break. Stay with us.
So do you think we should have programs for Otata without having to go to a court so that they can also be involved in abantwana babo?
Yes, I think we should have programs for abotata because kumele babone ukuthi abanye abazali or abanye abobaba bayenzela ini abantwana babo out there.
It has become a norm that fathers, father children and they just walk away, and everybody no one bats an eye. But if you hear that a mother threw a baby away, everybody goes crazy because it's something that's rare. But because we have normalized absent fathers, especially in the black community, it has become to a point whereby every father is expected to be absent.
Honestly, impact without having a father, it's felt, and it's a huge one, mainly because you tend to look for father figures in other men, or like in my case, my mom had to play a father figure and a mother role.
Interesting. Now, are young fathers really failing to support their children? Welcome back. You're still with Expressions. This is your #1 Youth Current Affairs show. Now, we did ask you the big question this evening. Joining me to further have this conversation is Baba Mbuyiselo Botha, who is the commissioner from the Commission for Gender Equality. Expressions, Baba.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you. Mbugeli, now just make sure that you do keep this conversation going in Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Now, Baba Mbuyiselo, it shows Uguti there's absent fathers in our communities. I mean, we've also seen in that insert there, and it's not only showing statistically, it's also showing the cracks those that are showing in our society, as we've seen there in the insert. Where are our fathers?
Well, I think the fathers are present, but there's this, and then one of the interviews was saying that we have normalized absent fathers, so we think that, in fact, we have institutionalized it, that it's becoming normal. You don't even get surprised. So to answer your question, I think fathers are there, whether they're young, they're old, but then is that more often than not, there are no examples in our communities where you would know that being absent, in fact, it's something that we should frown upon. It's something that all of us must hate. But then it's like, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. This is how things are, or this is how things have happened, or have been happening. So what's the fuss about?
Baba Mbuyiselo, you're making a very important point. I know, this point has been making the rounds that have we normalized not having obaba in our households so much that there is now a correlation to what is happening right now? This is why we're seeing young men saying, you know what, Mkulenga na baba, so why must I be a father to my children? Do you think this is a pattern that is ongoing?
Certainly it's a pattern. And unless we do something about it, and that's why part of the work we do at the Commission for Gender Equality in all the 9 provinces we have, in the offices we have in the country, one of the things that we do is the importance of the central role that fathers play, that it's not only about money. Though that's very important in policy, very important and critical. Those that are, in gainful employment should in fact be able to support. But there's much more to fathers than just being ATMs. There's just much more. Things like, being emotionally connected with them, being there present. School, work, doing all sorts of things. It's important that we as fathers do these things on a daily basis. And we can only reverse that by actually knowing that, look, it's important for us to frown upon it, that, look, it can be okay. But and the generation now, we must reach a point where we say, you know what, so far and not further. Enough is enough. It starts and ends with me.
All right. At the back of that, Baba Mbuyiselo, I need to quickly take my voice note, but there is also a burning question that I want to get to that I just saw now on social media. So just please quickly roll it for me.
Hi, Expressions.
I am Sam.
And I am Nomshi.
I do believe that young fathers are failing to support their kids due to separations, conflicts, and disputes.
I don't believe that fathers are failing to support their kids. There are many children out there who are fatherless because of their mothers who are trying to prove a point. Thank you for a wonderful show.
Yeah, well, things have evolved. It's a video note now, so keep those coming. Now, Babu Donald, there's a question I need for you to take for us. Now, on social media, one young lady says that she cannot trace her baby's father at this point, and some even go to the extent of threatening the lives of their children as well as their baby mamas, saying that they're not even going to pay maintenance. Is there some sort of recourse that is available to such women who say, I ended up abandoning my attempts to get maintenance because I fear for my life, I fear for my child's life?
Well, there's two things that I would like to respond on. One will be there's maintenance investigators that is appointed within the Department of Justice that is basically responsible to trace the respondent. So once the application for maintenance is late and you indicate that you are having challenges in tracing the respondent, the maintenance investigator will be the one that is tasked to actually trace where the respondent is. And as far as where the applicant has been threatened, the Domestic Violence Act provides reliefs for such. That applicant should apply for the protection order, where the magistrate will grant a protection order for the person that has been threatened.
All right. Now, a very important question before I quickly take one or two comments here, Baba Mbuyiselo. Now, there's a perception, Uguti, Mama Bengane make it very hard to co-parent with these young men. Hence, they end up, moving away. So what sort of dialogues and, chats should we be having as Abantu besilisa, to deal with such instances?
We must move beyond making it an issue. That if people fall in love and out of love. It's okay, that's normal. But then, as fathers, it's important to make the distinction that, look, I'm no more in a relationship with you. But, I always say in the work that we do that I have never seen ex-children. I know ex-father or ex-husband, or ex-wife. But I've never heard of the concept of ex-children. So it's important to make a distinction, a clear, a non-ambiguous distinction that, look, you and I are no more in love, but this child did not choose to come here. I will make it a point that I look after this child, and whilst you and I sort things out. The sad thing in policy is that more often than not, when two elephants fight, the grass gets heard. And it's important that even mothers, mothers should know that, look, you can't use kids as a tool.
It's a joint effort indeed between the Bazai.
Absolutely. So don't use kids for your own battles. Fight out there, but not for the kids, because the question must always be in policy, what is in the best interest of the child?
Okay, I have to thank you very much, Babu Mbuyiselo, for that. Just quick one comment. Now, Dark Line says, yes, because they rush the things when they're not ready and controlled by their peers. Mighty says, not really. It's just that in most cases, baby mamas tend to neglect them, baby daddies, and even shut them off. Sinbonge kakhulu for those comments. Do keep them coming. We continue ngale nkulumo ibaluleke kakhulu when we return. This is Expressions.
Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions. Tonight we're speaking about child maintenance. And the poll question that we're asking you, Kochai, is this: are young fathers failing to support their children? So, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely have to wrap everything up. And I think for you, Donald, I just want to ask you, in the cases where you have a minor that is impregnated by an adult, what recourse is there available?
There's two recourses. If it's an adult, the minor will be assisted by the parents, like I've said previously, where they will assist in terms of the child having to get the maintenance for the minor child. But they can also file the criminal charge for statutory rape because the child is 14 years, where the father will be prosecuted or either the respondent will be prosecuted for statutory rape and stand a trial.
Okay. And for you, Deborah, how do we turn the tide around? How do we encourage the involvement of fathers? But I think most importantly, how do we reduce this increase of young mothers that we're seeing in our society?
I think it starts with the programs, providing programs that are providing preventive measures so that we be able to reduce the high level of teen pregnancies. We cannot eradicate in an overnight, but it can be reduced. And then in a case where a child is having a small baby at a young age, we involve the parent, and then we start to provide the parenting programs, parenting skills. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I'm sure there's a lot to unpack in this, but I think you've given us a lot of food for thought. Thank you very much for coming through. I hope we've made an impact tonight, Mko.
Yeah, Jackie. Hey, and hopefully we can also do a follow-up show on this. Now, our poll results are out, and it's in Buzilege this evening. Are young fathers failing to support their children? About 60% of you said yes, and 40% said no, Jackie.
Disappointing results. Disappointing results indeed.
So next week, we've got a very special show lined up for Wena Mbugeli Lapha Ekhaya. So we give you a glimpse of what to expect. Take a look.
Normally, when you see Women's Month being celebrated, we normally look at the legends and people who have really made it. But there are actually women out there who are just waiting for us to reach out.
The Adama Police Trust owns the land, which is 50% black women, the ladies that you're gonna meet, and the rest is the farm people that I've actually mentioned that they acquired the land 10 years ago. So in terms of transfer, we own it.
Currently, right now, you are the first and only female officer to navigate a submarine.
It seemed like a whole different world, and I thought that I needed to explore that. And at that point, I didn't even know that there weren't any female officers.
Looks like you had a great time in Cape Town. I certainly had an awesome time in the Northern Cape, having great conversation with all those phenomenal women. Mbugeli, thank you so much for joining us. Cutting Edge is up next. From all of us here at Expressions, we wish you a spectacular evening going forward. Adios.